Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited about this episode. Little change up from the mundane. Before I introduce our guest, here is a quote. Uh, here's a book for this podcast. Go all the way. If you're gonna try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, and maybe even your mind. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. Charles Bukowski. Our guest today is a real life living flame, burning like a phoenix in the night. Yes, he's the founder of Blacktop Banter. He's someone that is admired in his industry, who people trust and seek guidance from and believe in his word. Ultimately, he's also a man willing to sleep on a park bench. Marvin Joles is back for another episode of the Culture Matters podcast, and we're damn well excited to have him.
Yeah, these are our excited faces if you're watching, right? Man, thanks for having me back. It was really I was thankful to be part of your goal, right? My previous episode. And we realized shortly after that one that we have more to talk about. And thankfully we've been able to do that, meeting in person and whatnot a lot, but it still didn't seem like enough. So here we are, we're back.
We're back at the blacktop culture.
Yeah, it is blacktop culture for sure. For sure.
What this is it a poem? But I read this quote
Hmm.
poem,
Yeah.
the explication, Charles Bukowski. Why is that something that's resonating with you today?
Uh, yeah. So I actually printed that off last year, and I got a 3 foot poster made that sits next to my bed, and it's the only thing hanging on the wall in my bedroom.
Wow.
Um, I felt a direction change probably last winter, which is our off season in the asphalt world, and could not figure out what was going on, why I felt this way, why this was happening. And this quote, poem, um, statement, revelation, I guess we're going to keep trying to figure out what the actual title of it is, started to resonate with me because there was a small piece of me deep down that knew that this was it. Like, this is why I'm feeling this way and that it fit into me. So, um, I gave a brief bio before on Culture Matters, but grew up an orphan. I didn't grow up an orphan. I was orphaned, and then my grandmother took me in 2 weeks old. My parents were both very young, and I keep reflecting back as I grow in life and realize that all these things happen for a reason. And now I appreciate all those things, right? The thing is, I never quit growing. I never quit changing, and my life doesn't as well. And that's bothersome to me, but I've come to realize that that's just the way that my journey is going to be. Last winter, when I printed this or ordered this giant poster of this, I placed it in my bedroom, which is in my apartment. My wife, Kelly, and I live separately. The kids have adjusted well. I've changed quite a bit in the last 10 years, and I'm changing more rapid now. Uh, uh, it's hard for them to adjust to. Eli adjusts really well. He's a ride or die. He's like, whatever, dad, I'm cool. My daughter prefers more stability, I guess, when it comes to everyday life, right? I'm traveling here. I'm listening to different things and speaking to different things. Nothing in negative, but just she prefers the uniform daily life, as does Kelly. So it's tough to be close to me in proximity. And I realize that with everybody on my team, my family, and everything. And unless I'm directed towards um, the end of that quote, right? Uh, unless directed towards being alone with the gods in the nights that will flame with fire and riding that straight to perfect laughter, I really feel I really feel abrasive to regular life if I don't go that direction. So I knew that, Jay, like I knew it when I printed this off. I knew it when I first heard it. I heard Lex Friedman repeat it to Joe Rogan on his podcast, and
Wow.
it was a guide for Lex Friedman's life. And I knew that I was going to be in that same boat. And I'm apologetic to the people who are close to me because I didn't see that coming. And when they committed to me, I didn't see that coming and didn't have a way to explain that early on. So now it's my responsibility to make sure that the adaptation for their lives and my life that comes along with it, I take responsibility for, even though you can't take responsibility for something you didn't really see coming or understand when it was heading that way. And the early part of this quote or statement or whatever we're going to call it is ringing true now, and I'm living it. And it is tough. I'm
Mm.
not going to lie. It is tough. But the opposite of doing this is harder on me. Conforming and letting my passion and dream die, even if I don't achieve it, is harder for me. And I'm starting to feel that now, and I'm starting to do the things early on. Um, Losing, girlfriends. Don't have any girlfriends. You're welcome, Kelly. Thankfully, I'm a man that stays busy doing this and other things. Um, but wives, arguably, I could have already lost, right? Kelly, I could have already lost. We live in different areas. We're hanging on best we can, adjusting best we can, and are optimistic. But the line has been drawn, I think, in my soul of what what has to fall off will I will allow to fall off in order for me to get across what I consider the finish line or the place where the nights flame with fire. It's tough because it could mean not eating, of course. I'm willing to forego any type of payment or money or monetary thing at this point in order to stay on the trajectory of my finish line. And I'm hoping that my children and my family and people close to me don't fall victim to that. I'm doing my best to make sure they don't. And I forego monetary things to allocate it towards all of their sides so that they're taken care of until they're responsible for their own lives and their own things. So I work on that. Freezing, I hate the cold, but I do it whether I'm doing 75 hard or I'm coming to visit my friends or my hands get cold and my whole body gets cold freezing on a park bench. I would do it if it meant it. And at this point, hopefully it doesn't believe I have to go to jail, right? When we think about that quote. But I believe I would if it meant standing up for the parts of my journey that need to stay firm in order for me to get there. And if I don't get there and I end up going to jail for standing up for something that I believe to be noble in my industry and my community, I'm cool with that too. Right. I've come to terms. I'm cool with that. Just money to get out of jail. And I can't imagine I'm going to do anything. We're in America, thankfully. So I don't imagine they're going to lock me up for any protesting or anything that I would do. Um, Derision. Yes, I'm starting sometimes to feel like I am deranged in this journey. Uh, Mockery. So I posted this quote, right, with some videos.
Yeah.
People seen it yesterday. Immediately, the very first comment is, "What the fuck? LOL." Complete mockery. The very first quote. And I responded with, this is what I was hoping for, right? I want that. I know that if that happens, I'm on my trajectory of this quote, of this statement. Um, and what does that do, Jay? It makes me isolated, right? Which I'm becoming used to as I just seem to not fit in anywhere. So I'll let you take
What
over from
was it?
there.
What was the message you posted?
It was this quote. So I did a series of videos from us working all summer, right? Different events. Eli at the end laughing, which was perfect for straight to perfect laughter. But it was this quote. I did a voiceover over a series of videos with letters going across the screen about this, about how fiercely I believe in this, right? And what I'm willing to give up in order to chase it. Blacktop Banter, the success of it, Wis-Coat, the success of it. In order for me to get to the point where I feel that relief from the hard press of the universe saying, this is the cards you're dealt, this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with this right out of the gate. You're going to deal with this in your teens. You're going to deal with this different stuff in your 20s. Now you're dealing with this different stuff in your 30s. There's so many things that the universe has thrown at me to try to stumble, right? To make me stumble or hinder this journey. But I keep trudging through. I just get up every day. I figure out a way around pieces of comfort and luxuries that I had. They fall off, and I keep getting narrowed down into whatever I need to be in order to make it to that end. And it's hard because I want to be comfortable. I would love to go somewhere, clock in, clock out, have 401k, full medical insurance, spend extra time with my family on the weekends, do all that stuff. But my satisfaction does not lie there. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is just how I'm made. It's how I was built. It was in my DNA apparently. And I have to go this route. If not, I become extremely unhappy. And to most people, I look unhappy to begin with because I've already thought this process all the way out. It really grounds me to where I don't live in the moment as much because I'm living so far into the future in my mind already, which makes it tough again to be around me. Um, it's just the isolation part of it, I think.
Where are you going?
Oh, in my mind, it's not anything anybody is going to see in the physical, right? It's going to be between me and our creator or the universe or where whoever or whatever. It's between them and I, right? There's a battle going on. And I would rather, this is kind of where we get to it. I would rather die on the mountain than not attempt to climb the mountain at this point. Where I'm going is the mountaintop, and it's only for me. It's only in my personal legend. You're not going to be able to see it. No one's going to be able to see it. You might see it on me and see the relief and see me smile, right? And be like, ah, there we go. And the finish line is my capabilities, the maxed out, most potential, best version of myself that is aligned with my personal legend. And I'm on that path going and getting there. I know it's there. When I hear the end of that quote, I know that's there, and I know that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and my soul is not going to be satisfied until I'm there. Um, you know, having the nights with the flame and being alone with the gods and laughing that I made it.
What does your day to day look like?
Oh, it's a shit show. It's a shit show. Yeah. So it's a struggle for me to do normal things that normal people would like. It's a struggle for me to do the work though as well to get to the end because I know what I'm losing every day. I know what I'm losing and I know what I'm gaining. And I know the people close to me don't value those things the same way I do. So it's tough. I get up early. I have a morning routine, which is hard to believe, right? But I try to stay organized. It's timed out on my clock every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes because I have deliverables for Blacktop Banter, and then I have deliverables for Wis-Coat, and I have deliverables for my family. They're all prompted in the morning to make sure I cover the basics. And then I have a schedule, which you and I are on here, and it looks really complicated. It's tight, especially for the next 2 months till we get past conference season, where we'll host events. I'll speak, my friends will speak. I'm a big proponent of less of me, more of them. because I believe that the creator exists in all of us. And if I can give more of them, I'm giving more of the creator, which is less of me, which in turn ends up becoming more of me. That's my fulfillment, I guess, along that journey. So that's my day to day. I really get burned out about 4. It's hard for me to do legit work at night. Most of the time, it's conversational work. Like I'll talk with guys who are wanting to join the Blacktop Banter Success Group, clients about big brain ideas, but it's hard for me to do really a lot of detailed work in the late afternoon. I'm best right away in the morning until about 11 a.m. And then my brain has already went through 3 days worth of work in a day. So it's hard. I will just eventually get exhausted, and I'll take a weekend or a week and just unplug from everything almost, and then realign and come back.
When do you get up?
Usually my alarm's set for 6, but I normally get up before that. It just depends. And lately this has happened a lot. This is where, to me, the diversion part of
Yeah.
that quote is starting to come in. I've always kind of had to try to keep myself grounded, but as soon as my eyes open, as soon as I become conscious again after sleeping, my brain is taking off from where I fell asleep at. And most of the time I'm falling asleep in detailed thought and processes about topics or deliverables that are going on in my life. So immediately I wake up and my brain jumps into work. I have to be prompted by my alarm system to stop and slow down. So I'll get up. My alarm is away from me, so I have to get up out of bed. Very first thing is I make decaf coffee. I'm a big fan of Huberman as of late. I hold off on any caffeine intake for 90 to 120 minutes, just because if I take it, my brain starts going even faster, and
Yeah.
I can't organize my thoughts. So I'll do that. I'll get up, I pray, um, and I project, um, and I envision, and I do that for a good 15, 20 minutes. And then I listen to an audiobook. Right now, I'm listening to Young Jeezy's audiobook about hustling and coming up in the rap game and that type of stuff. Really enjoying that one. And that'll help kind of get me slowed down where I'm not thinking. The audiobook is doing the thinking. I'm just listening, right? Taking it in. Unplug from that, take a shower, get in touch with the kids. Usually that's 7:15 or so. Ask them about their day, what's going to happen, if they need me at all when I'm done with work for the day, um, and any future plans and everything like that. I might get coffee finally then, and then I jump into the office. Kyla, who has become my assistant here, has adapted to me, my lifestyle, and how unique I am very well. She understands me probably better than anybody at this point, which to her credit is great, but um, to her detriment, it's not much of understanding of me, right? It's more than anybody else around, but it's nowhere's near fully understanding me. It's just a start. You and I connected really well at Pittsburgh last time. We had trouble not talking and not being around each other because we connected so much. I would say, and before I was very intimidated. Even last year, last July, these thoughts and the way I was going
Hmm.
was starting to come to the surface, and I was very intimidated last time at Pittsburgh last July, not this previous July, but the July before, because you spoke. And when you spoke, I realized there was somebody else in my proximity that thinks the way that I think. And that allowed the kind of the veil to come down that I had been keeping and be like, okay, I'm going to just start talking like this, about this, for this. And yeah, I think there's a unique set of people that can understand, but at the same time, I'm completely unorganized because of the way I think, the way I speak. So I need both. I need guys like you who have become close friends of mine who understand, but I also need people who don't understand that can at least tell me, just do this stuff, just stay organized and do this. And that helps out a lot.
Are you are is so you brought up Lex Friedman even
Hmm.
before, like in that. Has he been a big influence?
Not really. No, I enjoy listening to him speak. I don't have much time to consume podcasts. I try to. Most of the time, I do it off of recommendations. When somebody's like, "Hey, I heard this podcast. You should listen to it." But I don't even listen to mine. I listen to our friend Brian's because he's my friend, and it's on my feed right at the right time when I'm getting ready to dive into the podcast audiobook section of my day. But I don't consume very much anymore. I did. I consumed a lot in my 20s and going into my early 30s. But now I most of the time I try to not um, binge anything for very long because I worry that it regresses my thought process and may be unoriginal in my journey, which may keep me from my finish line sooner. Don't get me wrong, I want to get done with this as fast as I can, but it may never happen. I may never get to the finish line, but I do want to get done with it as soon as I can, which is a struggle because I have to go at my pace, which is, or I have to go at the rest of the world's pace, which isn't my pace, and that's tough for me.
Hmm. Are you doing a lot of podcasts?
Yeah, we do one a week, and then usually I'm a guest on one a week. It's about to come average too. Um, yeah, it's hard. That is also getting hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I have definitely upgraded in the quality of guests that I had as of late because it's getting harder for me to have engaging conversation that I think is really, really valuable, which wasn't the case early on, but now it is, which is troublesome for the business model as well, right? But I do my
Why?
best. Uh, for the business model, who our target audience is, contractors, right? And most of these guys don't care about the stuff that I'm starting to talk about. They just want to know, hey, how do I work more efficiently? How do I get my equipment to function properly? Who do I hire? Who do I put in place? What type of um, benefit program am I going to give them? Insurances, contracts, all that type of stuff, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's not that it's not valuable. It is. It totally is. And we do a good mix of it. But my favorite podcasts, I have a feeling, probably aren't our audience's favorite podcasts. I'm hoping so. But as I get more and more in depth in my mind and my soul and my spirit, my journey, I'm realizing there's very few people that jam on the same stuff that I jam on nowadays. And that makes me scared a little bit because I'm only 38. I've only recently, in my mind, in the timeline of the world for sure, but in my life timeline, it's been maybe the last 5 years that I've really veered this way. I've always kind of thought this way, but it stayed below level because of the influence of the world around me. And now I've recently narrowed that. It
Hmm.
keeps getting narrowed as I get closer. And as I do, I become more of this. My interests become a lot different. I'm really super interested. I mentioned earlier, Huberman, about neurobiology and philosophy and why we think this way. I mainly because I want to figure out why I'm thinking this way. Um, but I also want to be a resource for people to come to, as you mentioned in my introduction, because they might think about these things, and there's not a lot of people around that have thought thorough, thoroughly about them, or can figure out a way out for them to get some peace for a little bit, right? About these thoughts, and sometimes it's just talking and having somebody that can kind of dissect it for you, lay it out, and make it digestible for you to be able to swallow it that day and make it to the next day, which for a lot of people, just making it to the next day is a big milestone.
You guys talk. What's the format like at the Success Group?
Yeah, so the format at the Success Group is it's pretty open. I leave it wide open, which I've come to find out is inhibiting. Most people want organization, right? To me, if Jay Doran's like Marvin, you call me anytime, text me anytime about anything. To me, I'm like, yes, yes, this is what I want. Um, Myself earlier, mid 20s, which I think a lot of guys, their mind is probably still there. I wanted to know what the call was going to be about, uh, what we were going to go over, how much time we had, and when I was okay to call because I didn't want to step on toes, right?
Mm.
Um, I don't enjoy that anymore. I almost enjoy clicking the button and us having open air because whatever's going to come through more than likely is the most important thing on our mind if it's not small talk. So that's the format. BBSG, we do 3 calls a month. I host one, but then I give 2 confidants calls each month too for them to host. And then we'll do a bonus call on Blacktop Banter Success Group as well at the end of the month, which is just what I enjoy, open conversation. Like, hey guys, it's a Q&A. What are we going to talk about? Because maybe selfishly, I want to be able to pick their brains a little bit, see how they think, their processes, how they deduce things, how they come up with solutions. It really helps me in my observation of human beings to do that type of thing. And then we have a 24/7 chat group which is open all the time for us to text each other. I think there's like 20, 25 guys in there. And we'll be talking about business, but then somebody will post a win. Like we had a guy recently had a baby and it resonated with everybody almost, right? Except the young guys who didn't have babies. And then we talked about that for most of the day. So that's the format for the most part when it comes to Blacktop Banter Success Group. On the rare occasions, we do meet. We met last month at KM International for a huge event they had there. And it was unbelievable for us because it was the first time some of us had seen each other and the first time in at least a year some of us had seen each other. So we were really excited about that.
Why there? Why meet there?
It just happened to work out that way. I was picking up a seal coat unit for my business, the Blacktop Banter Edition KM International, which I'm super excited about. Um, to have
Oh,
this on the side of a piece of equipment, somebody believes in this enough, a company believes in this enough, and our influence enough, and what we're about at our core value, um, to partner with us and put it on the side of their rig really says a lot to me. It's not necessarily the hype or the clout that came with it. It was um I'm the embodiment. Blacktop Banter is the embodiment of me, right? Giving back to our community, being selfless, which I think is very important. I think I'm naturally that way. I didn't have to try to be selfless. I think I just am. And for a company to believe in that meant a lot to me. If it never happened, I was okay with it, but for that to happen was pretty damn cool. And I was just going to go pick up my rig. It was mine. I had foregone getting mine all summer, and I had let other people come in line in front of me to get the Blacktop Banner Edition seal coat rigs. And I quickly thought, well, there's a few people around there I know. Why don't I invite them and we could do a factory tour? I put that out into the ether, into the internet, and we had like 20 people sign up by day two. And we quickly realized it was going to have to be an event. So we turned it into an event with some speakers, and then we all went and raced go-karts highly competitively, which was a blast afterward. But it was that camaraderie for that moment, for those moments when you're together, similar to where we were just in Pittsburgh together, you realize that you're not just it helps you realize that you're not just working to make money because you're connecting to other humans. And that feels so much better to me than making money, right? That the vessel is the asphalt industry for us to do that type of stuff. So I think it's very important. And if people don't do that, I recommend they do, because if you can truly connect with people who aim to do that around you, there's nothing like it in the world, I don't think.
this was a machine that had your logo drawn
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
correct. Yeah, it's a seal coat rig that had our logo on it. I had envisioned this for a long time, especially with a different company. I always thought, man, this would be so cool to be able to do this. And it's a unique thing that we're able to do because you can go and buy all types of seal coat rigs. There's plenty of companies, right? And they're all going to be pretty close. It's like buying a truck. You're going to have four wheels, you're going to have a powerful motor, you're going to have a truck bed, you're going to have taillights, you're going to have AC and heat. The rest is all whatever, right? Same thing with seal coat rigs, except this one, because of what we've created with the Blacktop Banter Success Group. A membership to the Success Group for your life comes with a purchase of the unit. So it goes far beyond the metal, it goes beyond the plastic, it goes beyond the tires, right? It goes beyond the company that made it. It more or less you can make money with the rig, but also you can learn how to make money and adapt your lifestyle in order to make money with the rig through Blacktop Banter Success Group. So for an added value, we had guys that went from zero to over 200K with their rig the very first year. There's other people who bought rigs but didn't buy Blacktop Banter Success Group rigs who may not have had that success, right? So the little bit of investment they made to buy ours versus somebody else's paid dividends on their life. We actually have a quote from somebody that was at the event, and he looked at his business partner after we were done with the whole thing, and he's like, dude, can you believe we almost bought a seal coat rig,
Yeah.
right? Like the other person's. And to me, that was very empowering because Blacktop Banner, as I said, is the embodiment of how I am personally, at least still now. I realize that may get stripped away when other people get their hands on it and starts to build, and I'll do my best to hang on to the best I can for as long as I can. But it was very validating of I tried to build what I needed when I was in their shoes and it feels like I did, right? So that lets me know that I'm on the right trajectory of getting towards the end, the finish line of my journey, um, my life's purpose, whatever that looks like, right? Whatever I'm chasing, and it adapts as I go. So, yeah, it was very cool for the steel to be a conductor, if you would, of the success those guys want and the embodiment of myself.
It has a meaning for them.
It has a meaning. Yeah. Yep. And what a meaning to know that they're in it for life. As long as they keep that piece of steel or buy a new one, they're in it with me for life as long as it exists. It's pretty cool because I have a feeling it's very comforting to them. Right. And at the core, we all want to be comfortable. We want to get uncomfortable, those of us who know the reason why to get uncomfortable, but you want to feel secure no matter what. And us as a resource for these guys, I think is helps with that sense of security. It gives them confidence to know that they can go out and make a mistake and that there's a group of men who have went through it to have their back, right? Who are intelligent and want their success as well. In a world where everybody's competitive, we have a great group of men who all want each other to be successful, which is unique nowadays, sadly.
What's the morale like right now in the industry?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think there's spots, right? Whether it's BBSG or whether it's TCS or wherever, where we are very excited because we all are confident, as I was saying. But for the most part, I think people are a little on edge. They're unsure.
Really?
Yeah, whether it's we're seeing great revenue, but also that can't hold up forever. And if you looked at it on from the outside of the economy, state of the real estate, um, COVID or whatever else, the math doesn't add up to that. And that makes me nervous. When 1 + 1 = 3, I get nervous about that because that's not the right equation for the way that works out. I don't need three. 3 is great and it looks great in the bank account, but 2, if it makes more sense, I'm more comfortable with because I feel like I'm not going to be surprised at 2. At 3, I feel like I am going to be
Is
because it
the
doesn't.
industry having a tailwind, like a good time?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And it makes me wonder how. Interest rates are at an all-time high, right? There's been talks about looming recession again forever, it feels like. There's unease in the world with war and whatnot, as there's always war. War never changes. Um, and that doesn't add up to me of why the asphalt industry is doing well. We did 30% growth at Wis-Coat last year. I would like to think that's because of my self-development and hiring the right people and getting rid of the people who were wrong. A lot of them get rid of themselves, to be honest with you. Um, so that makes me nervous a little bit because that's one of the largest growths we've had. We had about 75% here at Blacktop Banter, about 75% at Dubuque. A lot of that I'm going to account to my self-development, me understanding things. The other thing is a lot of the noise that was in my brain, I've let go of because of this quote, this Bukowski quote. Um, I realized that if it inhibits my personal legend, my finish line in the end, that it's not meant for that. And that's very hard because there are things that I love very deeply, and there are people that I love very deeply, and places of comfort that I love very deeply. And those satisfy some, but they don't satisfy for what I am putting delayed gratification for, which is the coveted thing at the end, right? The perfect laughter, the the being alone with the gods. I can't do that if I'm doing what everybody else is doing because they're not going to be alone with the gods, Jay.
Um, and what's your vision?
Mm. I sum this up a lot, and it's the only word I can think of, and it's generic, and it doesn't do it justice, but it's happiness. I'm not happy. I thought I was, but I was joyful. I get joyful. I was super joyful when we were in Pittsburgh this last time. But I'm same way that I don't throw around love lightly. I have come to not throw around happiness very lightly either, because of what I'm having to go through in order to feel it. I realize that it is uh, a struggle to truly attain if you think about it in every aspect of it. Happiness to me means just bliss. All the time you're in bliss, right? That doesn't happen here on Earth. I know that because anything could happen at any moment that makes you out of bliss, right? Whether you get sick, whether it's a natural disaster, you trip and fall on a curb, that's not bliss, believe me. Um, but happiness in genuine terms means that if I trip and fall on the curb, I'm gonna be all right because I have such a good feeling about my life and ambience around me. So that's sadly that's what that looks like. And I think I attain that through self-development, um, self-esteem. The more I go in this, the more proud I get of myself, the better I feel about myself. And that brings me closer to happiness. I can feel myself taking steps towards that. So that's why I keep going and keep doing it. And it, in my situation, which is, well, once again, I repeat, isn't the same situation for everybody else, those are steps in the direction of me being happy. Some people, if they work way too much or work more, um, or get uncomfortable, that's not the direction. That's not towards the direction of them being happy, right? So it's very personal,
Mm.
but um, I think which is why this resonates with me, this quote, and a lot of people will mock it, right? Because of the lack of understanding of my situation, where I'm going, what I'm doing, and what it means to me personally.
Why did you start Blacktop Banter?
Oh, I really, really started to enjoy conversations with people. And I had conversations at different conferences with people that I thought were extremely valuable. They were extremely valuable to me. So I thought, well, shoot, I'm look and sound like everybody else. At least back when I started having these conversations, I don't necessarily so much anymore. But that's why I did it. I wanted to, and I cherished these people. I started to grow feelings for these people, and I thought, I'm young. I was young then when I really started doing this type of stuff, social media and doing interviews and those types of things. Uh, and I thought these people may not ever have a timestamp or a resource that exists on the internet with their story and their knowledge, and I want to keep that there. They come from my industry and no one was doing it in my industry. So I thought I'm going to do that, and it's going to help people connect better so that they don't feel so alone, right? I'm ultimately lonely. Uh Especially, and as time goes on, I get lonelier and lonelier, which I is very uncomfortable and very sad, and I have candidly I have anxiety and get depressed about that type of stuff. But because of this quote, I know that that's part of the journey. Isolation is part of the journey. So, uh, I recently came back from a conference in Florida where some of our mutual friends were at, and I didn't ask for feedback, but I got feedback from people of, "Hey, man, you seemed a little down," right? I don't. I worry that I was so happy with mundane, meaningless things in life when I would attend these things, that was my baseline, was people expecting me to be so happy, right? Um, or I don't know about happy, but and maybe in their definition, I was happy. And now I'm more calm. I'm more I'm more thoughtful, um, more introspective, even during the process of just interacting with people every day. And I think to them, that looks like I'm down, right, down a notch. And it's not. I just think I'm more
Hmm.
aligned with who I'm supposed to be, who I'm becoming, who I will become, and my personal legend along that route.
Did this journey curating people's stories and sharing them help you awaken?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so because I never tout to be highly intelligent. I don't think I am. I think I'm very observant, and I think I have a high emotional intelligence, mainly because of what I have went through in my life and I'm still going through. Um, there are people that I look up to unbelievably because when I was younger, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they were absolutely crushing in the areas that I wanted to crush. right? And then I would have these deep conversations. I would get an understanding, and then I would ask them questions about um, maybe philosophical aspects, and there would be nothing there, right? And then I realized that they are very skilled at acquiring money or materials or different types of things, athletics, whatever it would be. And to me, that all that stuff eventually you leave behind, right? You can't take it with you, as they say. Um, so my mind started to devalue those things a lot. And that was very hard for Kelly, my wife, my kids, my people around me. All my peers that I have that are really close to me are business owners, and they're fantastic. And they're going up what I call a cylinder, right? Where everybody advances because we're in this close knit. We move up through this cylinder of success because we all keep doing better and better. And where we're tight knit, we don't really notice that we're improving a whole lot or that our lives are improving and that we're moving upward or whatever. But from the outside, people will give us feedback, be like, man, you guys are all crushing it, right? Um, I'm the anomaly in that cylinder. My friends bring me along, thankfully, because I've devalued the things that they more than likely value yet. And I think because of my uniqueness and what I speak about touches a part of their heart or their soul, their spirit, whatever you want to call, that they know is very valuable. And that if they can acquire what they aim to acquire, that I think subconsciously they know that it doesn't have as much value as the little portion that I touch. And if they can get to their goal, then they can focus on that and I'll be there. Right. So I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for this journey and for me to be part of that and for me to be this way and start to I don't know very many people that I hope this doesn't sound conceited. I don't know very many people who have, at least at the surface, changed in such a way that I have changed since the time these people have begun to know me to now. Um, I worry that that gives me imposter syndrome. It also makes me look not genuine, I think, if you get to know me quite a bit. But if you have a conversation, you'll know that what I care about is truly genuine when it comes to people. So I'm in the middle of it, man. I'm in the middle of this quote of this statement. And some of the quotes early on were chase your dreams, right? All those types of rah types of things. And I went on that trajectory and it led me to this one, which I'm guessing this one will lead me to another one. I read a lot of Poe, right? Edgar Allan Poe, Van Gogh. And I feel like throughout time, throughout history, they have went on the same journey and I'm starting to align with those things. And it's frightening for me, quite candidly, but um, there's a reason why we remember those men's names, right? I don't remember Pete Jackson, who works at the factory and did for 30 years, and they gave him a watch and he died a year later, right? Um,
I'm like really you ever read Walden?
I have it. I have it. I have
Man,
it's Thoreau, right?
Henry David Thoreau.
Yes, I have it and I haven't had a chance to. I read and consumed like crazy until the last 3 years, and then I stopped doing it so much. It's one of my prompts. I read at night for 15 minutes because it's prompted by my cell phone.
See, I don't know. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Oh,
You likely recommended it to me and I bought it off the internet and then it's on my shelf now.
this is it. Page 84.
Okay.
Books are the treasured wealth of the world and the fit inheritance of generations and nations. Books, the oldest and the best, stand naturally and rightfully on the shelves of every cottage. They have no cause of their own to plead, but while they enlighten and sustain the reader, his common sense will not refuse them. Their authors are a natural and irresistible aristocracy in every society, and more than kings or emperors, exert an influence on mankind. When the illiterate and perhaps scornful trader
Mm.
has earned by enterprise and industry his
Hmm.
coveted leisure and independence, and is admitted to the circles of wealth and fashion, he turns inevitably at last to those still higher, but yet inaccessible circles of intellect and genius,
Mm.
and is sensible only of the imperfection of his culture and the vanity and insufficiency of all his riches, and further proves his good sense by the pains which he takes to secure for his children that intellectual culture whose want he so keenly feels, and thus it is that he becomes the founder of a family.
Yeah.
I feel from your story that I wrote this, my question, did Marvin lose his idols
Mm.
in the
I think
proximity? Like when you asked those people that you had once perceived
I think so.
hitherto soaring like eagles in the night sky as better than dot dot dot,
Yeah.
and you ask them a simple question.
Yeah, I think I did.
You ask them a simple question, maybe why, and then well why, and then well why, and then well
Hmm.
why, and what you got was nothing.
Right.
I feel like you hit the skit, you hit the brakes, and it's as if you read Walden, right? This part. When the illiterate and perhaps scornful trader has earned by enterprise and industry his coveted leisure and independence, and it is admitted to the circles of wealth and fashion, he turns inevitably at last to those still higher,
Hmm.
but yet inaccessible circles of intellect and genius, and is sensible only of the imperfection of his culture and vanity, and insufficiency of all his riches. So
Yeah.
you figured it out
Early
early.
and by observation.
The whole thing is underlined. It's I figured it out a while ago too. It's
Yeah.
why I knew where I didn't know it was page 84, but good thing I highlighted it, or I never would
Yeah,
have
it's a good
found
thing
it.
you read it. It's a good thing you read it and knew it and highlighted it because I didn't. And I think
There's nothing highlighted in this whole book except for that paragraph.
that's wild.
Yeah. And I've never read the entire book. I just read the chapter on reading. And that is what he said.
So that's been a theme, right? The more I went down this path, the more those types of things happened where I don't know how to explain it, Jay, but to me, I've just started saying the universe or the ether. Because as I explained to you when we last spoke, you can put diodes on somebody's brain and tell them to think about something, and the needle will move, right? Up and down. You tell them to think harder, and it all of a sudden goes harder. For every force, there's an equal and opposite force in return, right? It's basic. Where is that going? And who is sending it back? And what is being sent back? There are things when I would start to think and I knew my mind was shifting that would happen and it would take my breath away. It was like an omen, right? I'm huge on The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I read it 2 or 3. My whole body is tattooed in that regard. But these things would come similar to what you just read, right? Where I said that it came to you and we found it in the book. And we're like, that rings so true. That would have blown my mind 10 years ago when I came to a revelation and then the universe plops confirmation in front of me. And now it doesn't surprise me so much. It's still an enjoyable God wink or an omen, whatever you want to say. But I think maybe that's why I stopped consuming so much information from others because whether you want to call it my mind's eye, my soul, or whatever, opened and was able to see the teachings of all the books in the world, all the conversations, whatever, by just being an observationist of the world, whether that's humans or whatever it would be, all the way in it. And I I consumed I filled my time more with getting towards my personal legend, where the nights flame with fire, where I'm alone with the gods and laughing perfectly, um, and less of outside direction towards that. I let I let the universe and the ether be my guide more and more and more. Um, I have a fear, like a hidden fear, that this means nothing, because I would, if you said, Marvin, in order for you to keep on your path, this has to be gone. I already know by the quote that you opened with that I would let it go. I already know that with people, you and I are becoming great friends. But if along that journey I have to let go, I will let go. Um, that has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, is honoring the words of that statement and that quote, "Go all the way," about Charles Bukowski, because I, thinking about what gives me pleasure, what I enjoy in my life, it's you and I friendship. Um, it's time, calm time, where I get to watch a sunset. I was thankful to be able to watch some of those in Florida recently and really took some in and appreciated those. But if I have to let those things go, then I have to let those things go in order to get to the end. Now, if I don't, if I don't let go of those things and I hang on to them at some point in this journey, then everything I had let go before would be in vain. And I cannot let that happen. I have sacrificed way too much. So in order to make all those things worth it, I have to stay the course. And it's incredibly hard. I almost am envious of those who haven't discovered that yet, or who don't have to think about that yet.